Hey guys, welcome back to Frankie's Forest. I hope you guys are all having an amazing day. In today's video, we're going to go over plants that thrive on neglect, or more specifically, plants that do really well with a minimal amount of care. So let's get right into it. So the first plant that I'll talk to you about is the Hoya. One reason that the Hoya requires little care is because of its pretty plump leaves. You can see a couple leaves here, they look pretty fat. And that's a good thing. That means that they're retaining a lot of water, which means they can sustain themselves for a pretty extended period of time, which means that you don't have to water them as often. Now, with big, giant Hoyas that have vines that grow to maybe over 4 or 5 feet long, you need to water it a little more often than maybe a new Hoya that you got at the store that has maybe a 4 or 5 inch long vine. So you'll probably want to water a bigger one like this, maybe 2 to 3 times a month, just because it's larger in size. But one that maybe is newer and smaller and younger, you might only need to water it 1 to 2 times a month because of its size. And one other quick thing I wanted to mention is that Hoyas do not require a lot of sunlight. Now you see I have it next to this bright window, but that's only because I really want it to grow a lot. But if you don't have a really bright window, and if you don't have anywhere bright in your house that you could put your Hoyas will do perfectly well in shaded sunlight, or even very indirect sunlight for that matter. They really don't need that much sun. It's just based on your preference. The second plant I want to talk about is succulents in general, but there are 2 succulents that I really just want to bring out that are really self-sustaining and need minimal care. The first one is a jade plant, also known as a Cressula ovata. But the reason that this plant is so self-sustaining is because, just like the Hoya, these leaves are super plump, and they'll actually pretty much tell you when they need watering. They'll kind of go limp and look very leathery. They'll have wrinkles through them. But as soon as you water it, it'll perk right back up. So don't think it's dead or anything like that. If the leaves aren't drooping, it means that it's perfectly good on water. It's had its leaves full of water. And the reason that you see those leaves kind of drooping is because there's not a lot of water, and you can see that with the wrinkles. They're a lot thinner. They're a lot more moldable. You can kind of like fold them into each other. But with these, they're pretty firm. They have a lot of water stored in them, and so they don't really need any watering unless they kind of go limp like that. So the third plant, also in the succulents category, is an aloe vera, one of the most common succulents slash cacti that people own. One reason that this plant is self-sustaining is also because of its very plump leaves. There are a couple succulents that have plump leaves, but these succulents have really plump leaves. If aloe vera leaves are commonly used for medicinal purposes as well. And if you ever cut open an aloe vera leaf, you see the inside is pretty much all water and like the slimy substance, but these plants can go without water for months. They are very drought resistant. They live in deserts, and so they pretty much don't need that much sun either. They can tolerate shaded light. They do prefer some, direct sunlight a couple hours a day, but it's not really that required. They also have little offshoots and little offsets, little pups of aloe veras that occasionally come out, and that means more aloe vera plants for you. So that's it for the succulents category. Let's move on to our last plant. Even though I said that was the last succulent, I just remember this is a succulent too. This is called a pencil cactus. Probably one of the most self-sustaining succulents slash plants ever that I've owned and experienced and I dealt with. So the reason that this is self-sustaining is because you barely need to water it, ever. It doesn't really need that much light at all. And the only times you water it are when the leaves look, or when the little, I don't know if I should consider these leaves, I don't exactly know what to call them, but when they look a little wrinkly, a little droopy, you see that they're getting a little more thin. This is a perfect example of when to water your pencil cactus. This is what new growth will look like. It kind of has little bristles on the end, just like a cactus. Even though it's called a pencil cactus, I don't think it's exactly in the cactus category. I think it's just more generalized as a succulent, but this definitely is probably one of the easiest plants to care for. It never dies. It's always alive. Even if you don't water it for months and months, it'll just always be with you. So this is definitely a plant I recommend if you're starting and you don't really have a lot of time at home, maybe you're out at work or something else, this is definitely a plant I'd recommend for you. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe. Happy growing!